Hello, awesome sixth graders. This is Mrs. Lee, getting ready to start this new head notes. This one's going to be on dividing unit fractions. So we've been working on multiplication of fractions, and that's just remember when you multiply, you're looking for the part of the amount that we're multiplying together. When we went over today, we talked about what happens when you multiply numbers that are less than 1. My product is always going to be smaller. So just remember that. I know it's kind of a strange concept, but just you're multiplying just like you normally would. But you're just now dealing with fractions as well as now with division. You're going to do exactly what you've done in the past, which is making groups of or finding how many groups you can make of it from a number. You're doing the exact same thing here, except now you're just doing it with fractions. All right. So I'm going to model for you first. I'm not going to introduce the algorithm and the notes today. We'll go back during class tomorrow and we'll talk more about the algorithm. So just for tonight, I'm only going to talk about how we're going to model. I'm going to introduce you to some new vocabulary words, new terms that we are going to have to know, and we will use when we do the algorithm as well. All right. So the first expression I have here is 4 divided by 1/3. And I want to model that for you. And it's pretty simple. I'm going to show models as a bar model, and then I'm also going to do it as a number line, okay? So the first one, I just like bar models, so we're going to do bar models first. So here's my, I'm going to make it into 4, okay? So here I have 4 holes. I have 1, I have 2, I have 3, and I have 4. So that's what this first number here, okay? And we're dividing by unit fractions, and a unit fraction just means my numerator is 1. I have 1 part of my total, okay? So when you see this expression, 4 divided by 1/3, in your head, you're asking yourself, how many thirds, because that's what we're talking about, thirds. Whoops. I'm going to put 1/3. How many thirds? And say thirds in your head. Okay, so how many thirds can I make out of 4? Okay, so that's what we're asking. So now we're going to go back and we're going to divide each of my holes into thirds. So here's my first 1 hole, and I'm going to divide that into thirds. And as you can see, I have 1, 2, 3. I have 3 thirds out of that 1 hole. Do the same thing with my second hole. I do 1, 2, 3, and again, I have 3 thirds out of that, because I know if I have all 3 of my thirds, I have a hole. So here's my number, or my 3 hole. Man, this is getting to be a tongue twister. There's 1, 2, and 3. So again, I get another 3 thirds, and then finally here in my 4th hole, I get another 3 thirds. So all together, I have 3, 6, 9, 12. So I have 12 thirds. So when I take my whole 4, divide it into thirds, I get 12. Okay, that's all you're asking. All right, so we're going down to the next one. Now we're not talking about a whole. Whoops. Now we're not talking about a whole. We're talking about, now I have a half. And on this one, I think I'll show it to you on a number line. Okay, so I have a half here. So I'm going to show you this, okay? So here's my 0. Here's a whole 1, and all I have is 1/2, okay? And I want to know how many fourths can I get out of 1/2. So I'm going to cut my whole number into fourths. So I'm going to come back here, and there's a 4th. This would be 2/4, and this would be 3/4, and then this would be 4/4, okay? So I'm only talking about this part of my number line here, because that's all I have is half. So I'm going to go and I'm going to count. So here's 1/4, and here's another 1/4. So I have 1, 2 fourths and 1/2. So, how, that's the question you're asking, how many fourths are there in 1/2? Okay, and I just showed you that 1/2 divided by 1/4, I get 2. Okay. Okay, the next one. I don't know which one you guys prefer, but I think I prefer I don't know. Sorry about that. I was having a little technical difficulty with my computer and iPad. All right, so now we're on 1/2, and we want to divide that into 1/8. Again, you're asking yourself, how many eighths? So how many eighths can I get out of 1/2? Okay, that's my question. And sorry, all the other notes disappeared. But if I was going too fast, you could always, go back and pause it before I erased it all. All right, so I'm gonna model it, and again, I kind of like the bar model, but you do what you want. Okay, that's what I have. I have a total of 1/2. Okay, and I want to know how many eighths I can get out of 1/2. So in this one, I have to break down it into eighths. And then I could see I have 1, 2, 3, 4 eighths. So this one, wrong button. Okay, now we're just going to talk about some vocabulary and a math property that you will use for the rest of your school career. Okay, so the first thing I want to talk about is the word reciprocal. It's also known as the inverse. And all that is saying that I have some number, whatever my number is, A. It could be any number. So whatever number I have, the reciprocal, A, it could be any number. And then A over 1, I have not changed the value. I'm just showing it to you as a fraction. So the value has not changed because any number divided by 1 equals that number. Okay, so the reciprocal is simply flipping my number so that my numerator now becomes my denominator. Okay, and the denominator now becomes my numerator. So for this example with A over 1, I flip it, so now my A is my denominator and the 1 is now my numerator. So let's just try this. So again, I'm talking about 5 and it's over 1. If I take the reciprocal, it's 1/5. Okay? 7, if I take the reciprocal, it's going to be 1/7 because that 1 really is underneath there even though I don't show it when I have a whole number. I'm going to change this one up. So if I have 1/15, then my reciprocal is just going to be 15. Okay? And if I took this 1 over 23 and I did the reciprocal, it would be 23. So the reciprocal or the inverse is simply just flipping my fraction upside down. Numerator becomes a denominator, denominator becomes a numerator. That's it. Okay, and we use the reciprocal and this specific property, which is the inverse property of multiplication. Okay, sounds fancy, but we're just flipping my fraction. And why it's important is when we get ready to do solving of equations. I will definitely show this to all my 6th grade classes, but it's easy, I promise. So here we go. So here, every number except for 0. Okay, we're not talking about 0. 0 is its own little thing. Every number except 0 has a multiplicative inverse. So that, because if I take 0 over 1 and I flip it, now I have 1 over 0, which if you ever try on a calculator will always come up as an error. You can't divide any number by 0. So every number except 0 has a multiplicative inverse. And when I take a number and I multiply it by my inverse or reciprocal of that number, it will always equal 1. Okay? And we'll do some down here. So I have some examples here. So I have 9. So again, pretend like that 1 is underneath there, even though I don't have to show it. My inverse or reciprocal is 1 over 9. Okay, agree? So according to what we've been doing for multiplication, I multiply my numerator with my numerator. So 9 times 1 is 9. And I do the same thing to my denominator. My denominator times my denominator, which is 1 times 9, which is 9. Which we know any number over itself as a fraction always equals 1. Okay, so here we go. We have 9 again. So my reciprocal is going to be 1/9. 1/9. And again, if you need to show it as a fraction, go ahead and do it because it does not change my value. I multiply across. 1 times 9 is 9. 9 times 1 is 9. And again, I get 1. Okay, here, okay, I'll just show you just so you can see it. That's going to be 2 over 2, which equals 1. Again, 2 times 1 is 2. 1 times 2 is 2, equals 1. Okay, 5 over 1, still 5 wholes. 5 times 1 is 5. 1 times 5 is 5, still equals 1. Same, last one we're trying here. So 1 times 5 is 5. 5 times 1 is 5, still equals 1. Okay? So that's what I got for you tonight. So again, practice, if you want, on your journal side or your left side where you're supposed to reflect on this. Practice dividing up some, just get unit fractions. Just do one. You can divide a whole by a unit fraction. Practice modeling. Just get the concept of what we're doing in your head. And then on the bottom of this page, because I didn't put it on the front of the page, here's tonight's first clue. We're going to do a riddle this week. Okay, my first riddle or my first clue is that I am a 3-digit number. So 3-digit number. And when I do things like this, I always want to go 1, 2, 3. So there's 3 digits. And I'm going to give you the first clue tonight and then the last clue tomorrow, so you'll have it for Wednesday. Okay, so in this clue, so I'm a 3-digit number. My tens digit is 6 more than my ones digits. Okay, and I'll get you thinking about this. So here's my ones and here's my tens. Okay, and I'm going to erase that so I don't get you confused with the next part. So there's my digits, my ones and my tens. Well, there's only 10 digits. There's a 0, there's a 1, there's a 2, there's a 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then a 9. That's the only digits I have. So if I'm talking my ones and my tens, and I know that my tens is 10 more, so this could be 0 and this could be 6. This could be 1, this could be 7. This could be 2, this could be 8, this could be 3, and this could be 9. That's the only choices I have. Okay? So I'm going to leave it for now, and you're not going to really be able to answer it yet because I haven't given you that last clue. But see you tomorrow.